Welcome. This is Ray, and I'm going to be coaching Rick Godwin on his career objectives. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hey Ray, I'm doing fine.
Great,
Good
great.
to see you.
Nice to see you.
All right.
So, how's it been going?
Hey, it's going pretty good. Going good. Working for Duncan kind of keeps me busy, probably 60, 70 hours a week these days, and got the MBA class going, and really busy.
Great,
Yep.
great. So, we're here now. We're trying to. Sounds like you're going to be going through some goal setting
Yeah.
using the SMART method and then also the GROW method.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
So, so So we just talked about how you are trying to you're working at Duggan, and what are you trying to achieve?
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a great question. So, listen, I really like Duncan, and I hope that my career will advance with Duncan, and so that's definitely an option. But at this juncture, my goal is to begin to look at other options and other opportunities, other avenues for me to use my skills um, that I've grown over the years, as well as the IMBA class. So I'm hoping to, as I'm able to leverage the learnings from the IMBA program, put that with my life experiences in the food service and retail industries. I definitely have something to offer other companies. So you ask me how I'm going. What I'm working on is while I'm working on the Duncan side of things, I'm also beginning now to explore some external opportunities and hopefully expand that search.
Great, great. So why is it important to you?
Great question. So my goal personally the way I look at it. I've got 10 good earning years left, and I would like to advance my career in that last 10 years to a point where I am leading a company strategically. So you ask why that's important to me. We did a little thing not long ago called Discover Your Strengths, and one of the things that I recognized was that I have a natural ability to look at things strategically and see around the corner. And that answered for me sort of a question or desire that I've always had is to lead an organization strategically, not just tactically. I've been in tactical roles for 40 years, and so I'm ready to be able to use that experience in my MBA class, to sort of feed that natural strength of mine, the strategy. I think you've heard it said that if you find a job where you do what you enjoy, you never have to work a day in your life. I'm looking for that spot,
Okay.
and I think that's in a strategic role. So that's why it's important to me.
Great, great. So we're talking about your goal. Have you started a SMART analysis? Being measurable, being specific, being time bound.
Yeah, so I guess Ray, no, I really haven't done as much on that as I would like. I got to admit, I've been for me in my career, growth has already come sort of naturally to me.
Okay.
You do really well in a tactical role, and you're off of the next tactical role. Breaking through the ceiling to get to a strategic role has been a little more difficult for me, and so. I don't know that I have a time bound objective as much as I would like to have one. I will say this: I've been working with my mentor specifically on trying to approach this goal from a little bit different angle. So I think I'm probably getting close to being able to put one together as I begin to understand the steps that I should be taking to pursue that. So that's something we'll explore together today, I'm sure, as I start to think about that.
Great,
So,
great, great. So, what is your current situation?
well, we talked about it a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently employed by Duncan,
Mm-hmm.
and Duncan's good to me, and yeah, I will tell you that in my current situation, I'm able to apply the things I pick up in the IMBA class almost instantly.
Wow.
I've always sort of done the things, but now I'm building a vocabulary around them and becoming much more sharp. Like asset investment decisions, you remember that. Those are things that I'm now readily able to apply to help franchisees understand the investment decisions they make every day. So those are skills that's going very well for me. So while I'm growing on that skill side, I now need to begin exposing myself to others that might be able to use those skills. That's the part that's not going as well as I would like for it to be.
Okay.
My contacts and my network field is pretty narrow on the Dunkin' side, mostly to my cross-functional team and my peers. And so those are folks that are committed to Dunkin' Donuts, and so you don't career network with folks, the company that you might one day leave. So it's exposing myself to others that would have an interest at that strategic level that we talked about. That's not going so well, and I don't mean to say that it's negative. I'm just saying that I haven't made progress there.
Okay. So, what other steps have you taken to start the process of your goal setting?
Well, we talked about working with the mentor, and the other thing that I will say, and this is getting back to the IMBA class, so I'll say that it's a step I've taken, although I was probably pulled there as opposed to going there on my own. And that was having a better understanding of my DISC profile and a better understanding of my learning profile. And so my DISC is a high D with an I. And so when I say high, I'm talking about as high as the chart will go. And my learning style is pragmatic. So that means that I fit my experiences into sort of patterns. And if it doesn't fit my pattern, then I have a tendency to react sharply or abruptly, and that can turn people off. So one of the steps that I've taken is to try to recognize that that's my natural tendency and manage that in my interactions with others. And I've asked others to help me kind of manage that too. Quite honestly, I've got peers that I've partnered with that kind of help me manage that and say, hey, when you see me react, whether it's body language or vocal, give me some feedback so I can react to that, because other people become sensitive to the fact that I outwardly show that.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things that I've done, and I've also, I will say, I've worked with my mentor on that too, and shared that with him and asked him to help me be an accountability partner for that sort of natural tendency of mine to react to things that don't fit the way I think things should go. And it's not that I'm wrong, it's that if others don't believe me, I can't effectively lead them. That's the challenge. And so that I think is what I'm working on right now.
Great. So what have you tried so far as advancing to the next level, to the next step?
Good question, Ray. I said to you earlier, how's it going was your question, and I said that part hadn't going so well. So when you asked me what have I tried, probably less than you might think.
Okay.
I've got more work to do there. But what my mentor is helping me do is identify, so at this juncture of my career, and I want to get into a strategic role, we're getting to the opportunity where the opportunities are rare. And quite frequently, these opportunities are given to those who have relationships. So that's what he and I are working on right now. So I wish I could say that I've tried it and have had success, but we're more in the beginning stages of that. Identifying what are the right organizations where I need to expose myself, and then where are the best places to make those contacts. So that's what we're working on. So I actually have done some things. I've made contact with the Georgia Restaurant Association for one. I have a LinkedIn connection. She and I have been communicating, and she's invited me to an event which I'm going to try to attend in November to begin that journey to network with those who might have an interest in my skill level to gain exposure. And I gotta manage that, by the way, Ray, while I'm managing my Dunkin' career. So, it becomes a little bit of a challenge for me to keep my eyes focused on what I'm doing with Dunkin', the goals and objectives that I deal with every day, and then manage this effort on the other hand to expose myself to others, and for them to appreciate the long retail career that I have as well as the other new experiences I'm getting through the Emma class.
Great. So you mentioned your networking. Is there another avenue that you're trying to pursue to achieve this goal?
Uh, Ray, I would say that aside, so networking, the other avenue I think is managing my own personality. So we already talked about it. It's managing that. So I really do believe the work that I'm doing on that is one of the things I'm doing to help me pursue that goal. And I think we should capture that as one of the things I'm working on. And honestly, I'm on a dual track. I'm working on gaining exposure inside Duncan. So I'm doing that by finding value-added projects that I can work on. So we talked a little bit about my cross-functional team just briefly a second ago. Say more about that. So my cross-functional team is geographically centered around the 5 states that our team manages. So we don't get a lot of exposure corporately. So I'm trying to find projects, and I have been successful finding projects where I can get some corporate exposure. So I'll just give you an example of one we're working on right now, built around a retail merchandiser that we use in a Dunkin' restaurant. That is been quite problematic trying to get those supplied through our supplier, and the folks in the corporate office don't fully understand the levers that are causing that to be a problem. We have a pretty good idea of it in the field, so I've partnered with some folks in the office to try to add value to that process. Right. So those things that's an example of some things that might get me some exposure. So those 3 things, working with my mentor on identifying right companies, or working on projects that add value in Duncan, and then continuing to manage my own personality profile. Those are probably the 3 areas I'm doing most work in.
Okay, great. So you did mention your networking, mentioned the corporate exposure through your projects.
Right. Yeah.
And you also are managing your current behavior patterns and make sure you try to modify them. Those are 3 great areas. Do you have any sense of the timing on how you want to pursue growing these?
Yeah. So the first one is the one that we talked about. That is the building network contacts outside of Duncan. That's the hardest one, and so that's the one where I'm putting the most effort. Quite honestly, managing a project inside of Duncan it's easy. I can do that during my daily work routine. So that's the one where I want to spend the most amount of time and energy. So I think the first short-term objective is the Georgia Restaurant Association. That's got a November time frame on it. So we're talking the middle of November that I will expose myself to that, and then what I'm hoping will come from there are other contacts that I can make to, maybe it's individuals, or maybe it's institutions, maybe it's events, maybe it's service organization, things of that nature that I can get in contact with. And so that will be my first checkpoint, I think. So I would say in the next 2 months, or certainly end of November, I'll have that done.
Oh, great. So you're measuring that.
Yes.
So when you measure that and it's time bound, that's great. What about you talked about your corporate exposure.
Yeah.
Are there any other avenues that you want to pursue?
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mentioned that was kind of natural to find projects like that. So one of the natural phenomena that occurs inside of a franchise-run organization is, in a publicly held organization like, say, Dunkin' Donuts, we work on a fiscal year, and our fiscal year is winding down. At the end of the year, and what that creates is sort of a bottleneck of development project. And when I say development, I'm talking about new store openings. And so there is a lot of opportunities to partner cross-functionally with the development team, my business development team, to bring these stores to fruition, actually basically get them open, and then change the process to where we front load more of those. So that's one of the things that my development manager, my construction director, and some of my direct report OMs are working on, to try to find a way to get more development front loaded as opposed to rear loaded in. So I'm hoping that's more like a year project. So that's really underway right now, Ray, but it's one that we're going to continue to work on.
Great.
Yeah.
So how do you know when you'll become successful at this SMART goal?
So which one specifically are we?
So we talked about on the first goal would be your networking, and then
Yeah.
how you want to uh, build on the networking to get to the next
All right.
level within your goal. Would
My
also-
search. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So I think success to me looks like I'm going to bite off small chunks. Success looks to me like having relationships that are outside of Duncan that I can depend on. Well, and I guess let me be more specific. That relationships outside of Duncan that I routinely connections that I routinely make, because that's when people see you for the value you bring. And so that's going to be again sort of a longer haul, but that I think is what would be successful for me on that one. Success for me inside Duncan, using that other objective, adding value inside of Duncan. Success for me looks like being acknowledged by others for having added value, and so that to me would be the success mark. Yeah.
Okay, and when you talk about your networking aspect, what do you think an obstacle would be with regards to your networking?
What goal?
Your networking
Yeah.
within um, your your goal.
Mhm.
What would be an obstacle to
Obstacle.
An obstacle. Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah. Time. Time. Manage my own time. Getting out there. Listen. I've got to manage Duncan. Duncan's treating me well right now, and I want to keep that positive. So anytime I bite off a little more time to do something different, it's time that comes from somewhere, right? So I'm balancing priorities. That's probably the biggest obstacle. If I had all the time in the world, I'd have all the connections in the world.
Okay. Regards to your corporate exposure, maybe what's an obstacle at that
For that goal?
That goal, yes.
Well, finding projects that add value is easy, believe it or not. There's so much that needs to be done, and it's so easy to say, let somebody else worry about that stuff. So it's really easy. So one obstacle will be picking something that doesn't add value. So that, again, I think I can really manage that. And the other one, an obstacle would be picking something that someone fails to recognize. So I want to make certain that the things that I'm doing are things that will be recognized by those that need to see it. So
Great.
That I think I've had a pretty good handle on the culture inside of Duncan, and I know how to lean into that.
Okay, great. You talk about these obstacles and understanding how to overcome them. You also talked about you're managing your current behavior. Is there an obstacle there that you could potentially see coming in the near future?
Well, I've got lots of experiences with the obstacle. The obstacle is me, quite honestly, Ray, and that is catching myself doing it and then managing it. That's why I've tried to use accountability partners or folks that would help check me on that, because it's a personality, it's a style, and so it's something that's comfortable and natural to me. And so if I don't have others that help me manage that, it'd be a bit of a challenge.
So what support do you need, and how do you get it? So for your three goals.
So, well, let's talk about the one we just talked about, because I talked about the supports accountability partners inside my IMBA team, the Soaring Eagles. Support from them, because that's a group that I normally work with. My cross-functional team is a group that I normally work with. I need to make sure I pick accountability partners. My first team, that's the team of peers that I work with regionally. I have accountability partners with them, and then so every work group or work circle that I'm involved in, I need an accountability partner. So I'm doing that. So that support's in place. Where I think I need the most support, Ray, is in the exposing myself to others. I need lots of help finding organizations. I'm willing to make the effort to go out there and do it, but it's making sure that I find the right places to make connections to those who would want my skill set, have an interest in somebody who has this wealth of knowledge in the retail restaurant business, and could benefit from that. So that's where I think I need the most support, and my mentor's been good about giving me support there. There may be others, so helping me find some others that might be able to give me ideas
Great.
that would add some
Great.
value too.
So, as we close this session, and you talked about the amount of months that it'll take, or the time period.
Yeah.
When would you like to get back with me and start another session?
All right, great question. So Ray, well, we know I've got activity in November. I've got a busy end of year with new store openings, so I'm working on that project with inside the company. And I'll always be working on me. Now that I'm always ready. So it's really those two others. So it probably would make sense for us to try to have another conversation, say in January or February, say 3 or 4 months. By then I will have wrapped a project inside the organization, as well as had numerous encounters with my mentor and others, hopefully, as well as my visit to the Restaurant Association.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I appreciate it, Rick.
Good. All right. Good. Thanks so much, Ray.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
This concludes the coaching session with Rick Godwin.